I played baseball in high school and it was my favorite sport. This is something that happened during my junior year and in the winter time. Our team baseball practices started in March, but for a few weeks before that we could have captain's practices. They were located in the high school gym and only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But because of gym times, we had to practice before school. They would be from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., and not that many kids would show up to most of them because they were optional. I took my practice very serious though, and I was always there. Usually there was about 8 to 10 of us practicing in the morning. We would play catch, do some hitting drills and some fielding stuff as well. So anyways, I had my own car back then and I would drive myself to school. One Thursday morning I arrived at school at about 4:45 a.m. for captain's practice. It was very early and the only people at the school besides a few teammates were janitors. The front door to the school wasn't even unlocked yet, so we had to enter through the side door. I remember that I walked in the school that morning and I was heading to the gym walking down the hallway. We couldn't use the locker rooms that time of year because basketball was still in season, so we had to just change in the gym or else we could go down to the public locker room. I walked past the hallway where the locker rooms were, between some classrooms and the gyms. Most of the lights in the school were off, but when I went past that hallway to my left, I heard a loud crashing sound. It was coming from a ways down the hallway, and I didn't know what it was. I stopped though and looked over. The hallway was very dark, but I saw some guy walk out from one room and cross the hallway and then go into another room. He was really far away, but I could tell that the guy was not a janitor. I really didn't know what was going on, but it didn't seem like any of my business. Maybe it was a teacher who arrived really early, or who knows what. I kept walking and I soon made it to the gyms. I went inside and within a few minutes a couple of my teammates were there. We started warming up and then practicing. I would say about 20 minutes into practice and I was doing some fielding stuff with a teammate. I noticed the doors at the end of the gym where one was open. This man walked through the doors. He was not an employee of the school and was not a student either. He just looked like some random guy. He had kind of a sloppy looking beard, dark hair, and was also wearing a beanie hat. I was just really confused seeing him walk in the gym. I looked over and the teammate that I was with did as well. The other guys were busy doing drills. The man looked around and then walked over near the batting cages. We had a bunch of our bats on the ground there. The man picked up a baseball bat and then started walking around. This immediately raised red flags in my head, and I'm sure it did in my teammates as well. We were just really confused though. I finally asked, "Who is that?" Right around that same moment is when I remembered the noise that I had heard in the hallway, and I realized that this was probably the same guy. Meanwhile, the way the man was moving around with the bat seemed really sketchy. Another teammate who was closer to the guy finally noticed him and confronted him, asking who he was. The man responded by raising the bat as if he was going to take a swing at my teammate. My teammate backed up, and then the man started to charge at him. The kid ran away from him, and the others started to notice and all move away as well. Some guys started to yell at the man to drop the bat, and other teammates started calling him crazy and stuff. There wasn't much that we could do when the man was threatening us with a baseball bat. One of my teammates threw a baseball at him pretty hard though and hit him. The guy kinda stopped for a second and it clearly hurt him. By now, everyone started moving away from the guy and starting to leave the gym. After the man recovered from getting hit with the baseball, he started running at us again. We all left the gym, not wanting to get whacked by this guy, and we ran down the hallway to find a place we could take cover. We went into the guest locker room, which wasn't that far away. Once we were there, we called the police and reported what was going on. Some of the guys held the door shut in case the man tried to enter, but thankfully he did not. We did hear him walking down the hallway though. Within probably 10 minutes, the cops were there. They were able to detain the man, but he threatened them with a bat for a while as well. I'm guessing that the man was on drugs or something, but I don't know for sure. Things got cleared up before 7 a.m., so the school day was able to go on just as normal. I'm not really sure where the guy came from or when he entered the school. I'm just really glad that he didn't hurt anyone. This event happened just yesterday. I went to see the New York Rangers hockey team play at Madison Square Garden, and I traveled solo. I went alone because I don't have that many friends and nobody I knew was a fan of the Rangers. It's whatever though. Overall, I had a great time at the game. The Rangers won, and I was talking to some other fans that were sitting right next to me. A fight even broke out at the game, which I found entertaining. When the game finished, I left the arena along with a large crowd, and we were all singing along together to Seven Nation Army. I then separated from the crowd and went my own way. I was on my way to a parking lot that was about 6 or 7 blocks away from where MSG was. I had to park far away because there were so many cars on 34th Street that there would be a lot of traffic, and all the parking lots nearby were full. I would say it took like 10 minutes to reach where I parked my car. It was quiet all around me, and I didn't hear a single person. As I was walking to my car, I felt a towel being wrapped around my head suddenly. The next thing I knew, I was thrown to the ground and felt 4 pairs of feet kicking me. They were kicking me all over, and this went on for about 15 seconds. When they finished, I was too weak to move or say anything. I then felt my phone, wallet, and car keys being taken out of my pockets. I wasn't overthinking at that moment. I was being robbed. After this was done, I heard a bunch of men speaking in Spanish to each other, and then I heard them all run off. I recognized their accents to be Venezuelan accents. I heard them run until I could no longer hear footsteps. That's when I felt like it was safe to get up from the ground. It was really hard to get up. I kept grunting and groaning because I was in massive pain. It took me about a full minute to stand up, and when I stood up, I couldn't do it straight. I then took a step, and my back was hunched over. Overall, I was able to walk though, but very slowly. I went about 50 feet until I saw a payphone. When I was at the payphone, I dialed 911, and I told the police that I had just been robbed and everything I had in my pockets, including my phone and wallet and keys, were gone. After I told them every detail, they said that police officers would be right over. They came in like 2 minutes, which was surprisingly fast. 2 officers came out from the police car and asked me if I was okay. I told them that I was okay mentally, but physically I was not okay. I was put into the car and they drove me to the hospital. I told them about what happened while I was in the car. I arrived at the hospital in under 5 minutes, and I didn't need much treatment. All I got was some ice packs and some painkiller shots. I made a call to where my car was located. I phoned on one of the hospital telephones because I did not have my phone. I told the parking assistant over the phone that I needed my car towed because my car keys were stolen. I stayed at the hospital overnight and went back home to New Jersey on the Port Authority bus terminal the next morning. I paid the impound lot to where my car was through my computer, which is the one I'm typing on as I speak. I don't have a phone on me right now, but I plan on getting a new one at the end of this week. I saw that there were new charges on my credit cards which disturbed me to my core, so I called the credit card company and had them cancel my cards. I'm still very angry that my necessities were stolen from me, but what's most important at the end of the day is that I made it out alive, and I can move on from this eventually as I look to have a bright future ahead of me. This happened back when I was a kid. I was 9 years old, and I remember that one night I went to my older sister's soccer game. I went with my parents and my younger sister. The soccer games I found mostly pretty boring. It was a fun atmosphere, but sometimes I would get up and walk around. My sister would play at this park that of course had the soccer fields, but there was some other stuff too. There were walking paths, and then on the other side some baseball and softball fields. There was also some trees and picnic areas and stuff. So on this night that my sister had a game, the lights were on at the field and it was dark out. Sometime into the game though, I got up to walk around because I was bored of the soccer game. I went past the soccer fields, and with it being nighttime, there wasn't really anything else going on in the park. Normally there would be people all around. I walked on the trail and soon made it away from the soccer fields and near the softball and baseball fields. I remember that I went to one of the softball fields. Sometimes I would find a ball laying around and I would play on the field with it. However, as I was entering the field, I went through the dugout. I didn't notice at first, but there was a kid sitting at the end of the dugout bench. Right when I was getting onto the field, I noticed him. He was all by himself, and he was now looking at me. He was a much older kid than me, though. He looked to be like 15 or 16 maybe even. I felt weird now that I had randomly walked onto the field, and I turned around and just left. Nobody said anything, but not long after I started to walk away, I heard the kid get up and start walking towards me. He left the dugout and was now walking on the trail behind me. It was strange sort of, but I didn't think it was a big deal. However, a little while of me walking on the trail, I thought that maybe he was following me. I decided to cut through the grass and walk back towards the soccer fields. In this area, it was much darker because none of the lights were on. When I cut through the grass, the guy did as well. Now I felt like he was following me for sure, but I didn't know what to do about it other than just continue back. I couldn't believe it, but the entire time I was walking, the guy was walking behind me. Soon, I started to go faster. Eventually, I made it to where I could see the lights in the soccer field again, and I made it back to my parents. By the time I reached the field, the guy kind of stopped following me. I remember looking around though, and after I got back with my parents, I saw the guy standing sort of far away, just looking at me. It was really weird. Within a few minutes of that though, he was gone. I watched the game for what felt like a really long time. After halftime, I got bored again and decided to walk around. I had sort of forgot about the kid that had been following me earlier, but I was quickly reminded. As soon as I got away from the soccer fields where it was not very well lit, I saw the kid just standing off in the grass. As soon as I remembered him, I turned around and started to go back. He instantly went onto the path and started to seemingly follow me again. I continued back towards my parents and was walking about as fast as I could without jogging. When I got back to my parents this time, I did not leave for the rest of the game. A few times during the game though, I looked back in the direction and I saw the kid again. He was a ways off the path, just staring at me. It was really weird and creepy. When we were leaving, he was still there. After that night though, I never saw him again. I still think about it sometimes. Why was he being so weird? He was probably just trying to scare me, but it seemed very odd.